Hello there and welcome to the channel. My name's Jonas and this is my plant obsession. Do excuse the attire, it's very hot here in central London and it has been for quite some time. Now today what we're going to be doing is taking a look at this plant that I have on the table right here in desperate need of a repot. Now this is the Aeschynanthus japhrolepis, also known as the lipstick plant, and it's actually native to the rainforests of Southeast Asia. And it's actually an epiphytic plant. So what that means is it's normally found in the tree branches and not actually on the ground. And therefore its long stems of green succulent leaves would be cascading down the branches. And then of course it ends in these beautiful red flowers, sometimes pink. But that's why they're known as the lipstick plant. So this is quite an easy plant to look after here in the UK. And as it lives in the rainforest, it's quite used to high humidity. Now in London, I can definitely tell you that the humidity is very high here. The baseline humidity for London in particular is about 50%. But for those of you in drier climes, you might want to supplement your planting with a humidifier, or you can actually cluster your plants a bit closer together so that they get something known as communal humidity. You just got to be aware of watering this on a regular basis. Some people like to put them into their bathrooms because of the high humidity, but I would only advise this if you have quite a bright room throughout the course of the day, just not direct sunlight, and just stay on top of the watering because it does like to stay quite moist. Now this one is in desperate need of a repot. And today what I'll be doing is I'll be potting it into an old pot that I have over there. I'll go and grab it in a second. And the type of soil that this actually enjoys is a peat-free houseplant mix, which you can pick up at most of your local stores. I picked mine up from a shop down the road from me called Plant Society, which you can find on Woolworth Road. And they're always happy to help in there. Anyway, let's move on to the repotting. So I'm back and I've got myself a nice plastic nursery pot here. Now it's really important that we have one of these that we're actually going to plant we're going to pot the plant into. You want some nice drainage holes for it to be free draining once we put the soil and the plant in there. It also makes it a lot easier for watering. And then of course you've got your cover pot which has no holes. Never plant directly into these because you're going to have to be very careful with watering, and it's actually not the easiest thing in the world to do. So with that in mind, I'm going to move the lipstick plant off to one side. Actually pop it down there for now. And we're going to get on to planting this up. I like to keep my table space nice and clean, so I've got myself 2 trays. And here is the Houseplant Focus potting mix. Okay, so I've managed to get all the soil out. So actually, as you can see, is here nice color, nice loose, free draining. Like amendments have been made to this. I think there's coca coir in here and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill up part of the bottom of the pot with some soil. Just chuck it in there, and then we are going to get our plant. I'm going to move the nursery pot out to one side for a moment. And here is the plant itself. It's looking quite nice, but definitely in need of a repot. So it should come out of this pot really easily, which it does, look. And as you can see, it is mostly just roots at this point. So just chuck a bit more soil into here, and then we're just gonna put it into the pot, give it a squeeze down, and then we're just gonna fill in around the edges with some soil. Don't worry about being messy. We're going to take this to the bath and we're going to give it a good shower. Now typically when it comes to watering this plant, I actually like to use a treatment on the water that I use instead of just using it straight from the tap. Now there's 2 active components that we use in the water in the UK to treat water for safe consumption, and that is chlorine and chloramine. Now chlorine typically is supposed to degas from the water after about 24 hours, but this isn't actually always the case, and chloramine itself is much more stable. Now I actually use a water treater used for aquariums, which I'll show you towards the end when I actually water, and this actually gets rid of those chemicals and stops things like leaf burn from happening. So as you can see, It's nicely potted in there. It's nice and firm. It is a bit one-sided at the moment. Not going to worry too much about that because it's going to go on the shelf. And now with the cover pot done, we're just going to grab the nursery pot, which is here. And as you can see, I didn't care how the nursery pot, the cover pot looked, because the plant just covers it straight up. And there you go, it's fully potted up. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to move on to watering. Now just make sure that you set your shower to cold. And you're just going to give it a really quick flush through. And also it's quite good for getting rid of the dust off the plant itself, but also get it nice and wet. Now it's okay to do this on the first watering just to make sure it's watered in, but for subsequent water I will show you the type of treatment that I use. It's actually using this Api tap water conditioner, which you can purchase on Amazon. It's very cheap, cost effective, and it's typically used for aquariums. There's two things in our water that we tend to not be good for plants, but they're fine for us: chlorine and chloramine. Chlorine will degas typically after about 24 hours, but not completely. Chloramine is a much more stable molecule and actually doesn't do this. So we use this in order to prevent things like stress to fish. But in our case, we're using it to prevent things like chemical burn to leaves, especially in things like calatheas, which are super sensitive. I tend to use a very small drop of this in a 2-gallon watering can, leave it for 5 minutes to work. Alternatively, you can add it to a large bucket of water, which is my preferred method of watering. You just grab your plant in its nursery pot, submerge it fully in the water for full saturation, and you're just going to hold it there until the bubbles stop rising up, just like you would with a person. This ensures that the plant's fully watered, and also it's going to be a lot better using this. So you can pick this up on Amazon. I might leave the link in the description below if you're nice, but otherwise I hope that one helps. And there we go, I'm back now. I've put the plant directly into the planter into the cover pot. That's my shelving unit there, and we're just going to find a nice place on the shelves. So I think it's going to go up over here. Now it's still dripping away because I've literally just pulled it out of the shower. You could leave it a little bit longer before you put it on the shelf, but I don't mind. So just on a quick side note, if you'd like to see how to propagate the Aeschynanthus japhrilepis, I can do a follow-up video on propagation of that and a few others if you'd like me to. Leave a comment in the description below, but otherwise I look forward to seeing you again very soon.